I think it's worth doing a video on this canopy masking, and in particular a method that I used a while back and still continue to use. It's not a great method, the tape method. Now, so it's suitable for certain types of model, not others. This Spitfire that I did was hand painted. One of the viewers mentioned that, you know, one of the good ways of doing canopies is just hand painting and then taking a toothpick and sort of wiping away areas where you've made a bit of a mess off the canopy bars. Now this is very nice. That's great when you can get away with hand painting on a particular canopy. The Spitfire is not too bad with that. This one is one where I have done the tape method, and I'll speak about that now. Now this method is both good and bad. So this particular model, this Harvard that I've just held up, that has lasted 2 decades and no problem. And it does depend on what tape you ended up using. But it's really difficult to know that 10 years down the line you're still going to be okay. So first statement I have to make about the tape method is you don't really know about its longevity. I've had different results because different tapes, some of the gum or the glue dries up after a certain number of years and your canopy bars start lifting. Some of them turn a little bit mushy. Now, so I would say use a good name brand. This one's 3M, and I think that if I remember correctly, 3M is what I was using. But try a couple of tapes and see, you know, practice on some scrap first. Now, I just want to show you something about this particular one. The Harvard's canopy overlaps, and you see the bars there on this middle section. You can actually see the bars on the inside one and the bars on the outside one. Now that's just an illusion because actually the front canopy is just not on there, and the plastic thickness makes it impossible to actually slide the front canopy over that back one and it look reasonable. It just looks way too huge. That is just a single canopy there where I've put the bars on the outside of that one to make it look like the one that slid back, and I've put other bars on the inside to match the position where the middle canopy would be so that it looks like a canopy has slidden over another canopy. Okay, so in the same way that you would put on occasion to cut and slice up your Tamiya masking tape, in the same way you put that tape onto not that tape, I mean, onto I use glass. Glass is quite a good method because it doesn't react with the glue on there. And prepare to cut into strips. You paint, you prepare it. I have sanded that slightly so that the paint will grip to it as I'm curving it over a surface. And then I've painted different colors for what I want to cut up. So there's an example of as I've been cutting up with my steel ruler and my blade and cutting up little pieces, cutting strips, getting ready for various masks, not masks, canopy bars. So I'm using this steel ruler placed over there, and I'm cutting a nice cut so that you cut through your tape well, but you don't damage the glass, obviously. These That was hand painted over the tape. This was sprayed over the tape. They give different effects. If you're looking for a little bit of unevenness, almost a little bit of weathering on your canopy bars as a starting point, hand painting is not a bad idea. Now, you get different canopy bars on models. Let's hope you can see this. So some kits have got the outer extents of the two bars. There's a good part where you can see it. They're right where my finger is. So you can see the two bars, the two sidelines of a single bar, which is perfect for slotting a piece of tape into. So you'd cut your piece of tape and simply stick it down. Some canopies, like this one, which is the old Airfix Blenheim, has got almost a curved bar, which means that if you stick tape on that, the edges of the tape will be sticking out. Now this is a very, very severe canopy bars version that they've done on this model, and I have done a version where I've actually sanded away all of those, and I have put tape onto the I've redone it. It sort of ends up looking like this. You've got a sanded down canopy, getting a nice flat surface. Now I've sanded the inside of this, that's why it's looking the color that it is. But you've got beautiful lines to put the tape onto. Look at that. Now I can't remember what was on the inside here, but I wanted to sand this down, and I did also want to say that you don't need to be that scared. It's worth practicing on a few scrap models. Sanding down bad parts of a canopy, 1200 sandpaper. Don't be fearful of manipulating a canopy. There's a lot of talk. Absolutely be careful. Wrap them in plastic. Wrap them in tissue. Be careful of your canopies. In most cases, yes, but in some cases where you actually want to do work on a canopy, it's nice if you have the skills that you could do 1200 and then eventually polish it out till it's shiny again. Yep, you might not get that shiny. You might not get your canopy that shiny, but it might be good enough for a kit. Maybe something closer to, well, that one's still fairly good, but you know what I mean. You get very bright and then you get a little bit dim. Actually, this one with the dust on it sort of gives you that idea. It doesn't look that great. It doesn't look that bright at the moment, but it's still an acceptable canopy. Now, that one is an example of one that's been done with that. And it looks very nice, except for the part that eventually lifted off. How can you see that there? You see that little piece lifted off there? But the okay thing about this method is that it's fairly easy to patch that up again. You can just put a new piece of tape over that. But 3 out of 4 pieces have held up very well on here. A fairly simple canopy, but that's the tape method. A bit of a low stress method. So while it leaves you with a few unknowns about how long this may last, it's a low stress method. It gets you very, very clean results. It works on some canopies, not on others. So it would only work on a few of the bars for this, but it certainly can't do complex curves. It would have worked very well on that one, though I happen to be deciding to mask this particular canopy. Hurricane. This canopy as well, you can see the side extents, which makes it perfect to fit a piece of cut tape into there. So what you do is you put the one over, and this one over at the front, that one over in the middle, another one over at the back, and then you'd use the side pieces to sort of almost clamp those edges down. So there are methods by which you can leave the least extended edges which can lift by accidental touching. And that's possibly why this one is held up for so long. I'm rather surprised. I suppose I was expecting to have to redo that sooner. So to summarize, some glass pieces or something that you're going to use, but it does have to be, it can't be plastic, because I think I have used plastic. Eventually what happens after a while is your tape adheres more and more to the plastic, and it actually reacts a little bit with the glue in the tape. Get yourself some glass, little glass panels of something or other. These are very handy to use. Make sure that glass is very clean, absolutely free of any touching, dust, anything like that, because you want pure tape surface touching to glass. Lay it out, but don't stretch it. This tape does stretch, and I want to show you something. Do you notice on the edges there how this tape has pulled back? I might have stretched that, or with aging this particular tape has shrunken in size slightly. So you want to lay your tape in an unstressed way. Pull some out, preferably not with your fingers touching those edges, because your finger oil will just immediately start reacting with that. And if you want it to be on here for a while and then on your model, you don't want any fingerprints on anything. So use blade, use whatever you need to do to get a piece of tape down on there. I lay a few pieces without you touching anything, without you touching the glass, except on the edges, of course. Take some 1200 sandpaper and work that surface so that it grips your paint better. Now, you don't have to do that step, but depending on how thickly you paint your paint over that, these matte colors tend to be okay. They don't splinter when you bend them as much as some gloss colors. I'd almost suggest you do use mattes and then gloss if you wanted gloss canopy lines afterwards. Practice cutting nice horizontal stripes. It's not always the easiest to see what you're doing on there, because it's sort of it blends in so easily. Even after your cut, it's difficult to see that you've made a cut. So practice your cutting a little bit. If you cut a canopy line which was thinner or thicker than you actually intended, that's not a loss. Just set it aside, because at some point on something you're going to want maybe that thickness of canopy tape. And it's also not bad for other parts of the model. There are some times when you might want to just put on a little bit of something other than a canopy line there. So with getting a canopy back to perfect, apart from polishing, one thing I wanted to say was, so I keep a couple of pieces of sandpaper. I cut them into little blocks to work with. When my 1200 gets well used, which let's say puts it into a state of close to 1600, or if you started with 1600, or if you started with 2000, doesn't matter, but work your finer ones, work your worn papers, your nice soft papers which hardly do anything, buff it nicely, use the back of your sandpaper. The back of your sandpaper is a very, very good intermediary between, especially if it's a little bit worn and soft, is a very, very good intermediary between sanding and buffing. So you can take that piece of sandpaper, using the back of it, slotting it into there, and you can really work that surface till it almost shines again. I don't often use polishing compound because I can get it quite close to normal with just that buffing, and then I will use the acrylic floor wax again to spray that, so that'll give you a nice gloss. Once you're finished with your masking, which I didn't do on this model, so it's not being kept in place with a floor wax, you can spray your canopy with its bars with that floor wax, giving, if you'd sanded it or not, would give you back your shine and seal in your canopy bars to a degree. Now, so I would say practice this on a few scrap canopies if you feel like doing the tape method. My rating of the tape method compared to actually masking like this, difficult to really say. This is more permanent. It's more work to get ready for painting. And I'd say the tape method has mixed results. You can have a real great success, or you can have something which needed you to redo parts. But it's safe. That's another thing about it. It's a very nice method without coming close to damaging or messing or anything like that, to just get a quick and easy, safe result. It's not always applicable. Some curved surfaces you can't get it, so yeah, make up, choose for yourself whether it's something you're going to go for. I would say at this stage I do maybe half my canopies if I can, using the tape method. Freehand I do less than 10% of the time, and spraying I now do where relevant, I would say. And if I had the choice of like a canopy like this, if I have the choice of mask or tape method, I'd probably use tape method. Okay, hope that was somewhat interesting, somewhat meaningful. I think it's worth knowing that method. Cheers.